crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way.
Good morning, Bix Weir, Woodrow.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga coffee. That is my view. That's our view. Amy and I are in Sedona, Arizona. Pretty amazing, huh? Isn't that cool looking? That was like right out off the back porch. Beautiful area. Beautiful area. I do have some news. We're not going to be doing the Phoenix show. So it was kind of tentative, but now definitely not. We're not going to be going to Phoenix. But we will reschedule that one. We'll have a Freedom road trip through Phoenix area, hopefully sometime next year when this insanity stops. But for this December, we are not doing that. So we are in Sedona. Sedona is beautiful, kind of getaway and a little spiritual retreat. Got a lot to do on the discovery side of the Grand Canyon Gold and other mysteries in the Southwest. Really amazing area. A lot of exploring to do. If you guys are interested in this stuff, we did 2 remote viewing sessions on the Grand Canyon Gold. If you go to roadtoroot.com first, just do a search for Grand Canyon. You're going to find 110 different articles, research papers, videos on what is going on in the Grand Canyon. The number 1 article right here, the New York Times Grand Canyon Gold article that I found. This is from 1912. This is the reason they created the Federal Reserve System. Tell of vast riches in the Grand Canyon. They're talking about billions and billions and billions of ounces of gold. It is still there. Woodrow Wilson locked up the Grand Canyon, and I think it was the 2nd national park of the United States. Nobody has touched it. Don't worry. There have people have touched it. There have been treaties with China, treaties all over the place, where we borrowed gold in the promise of giving them some back. So we had to take some out of the Grand Canyon and give it to China. That was in 1954. 1954 is when that was done. All this research is on the Road to Root. Go to roadtoroot.com. Go to the search section right at the top. Type in Grand Canyon and do a search, and you'll find all my research into this. So much stuff. Grand Canyon Gold and the Fed, the Golden Parachute, all kinds of stuff, a lot of private road stuff. So it's not like it hasn't been researched. I have proven massive amounts of gold. There's Supreme Court cases talking about the gold in the Grand Canyon, how you're not allowed to access it, and all this stuff. So check it out if you're still confused about that. And we will be going on to a gold standard, a partial gold standard. I don't know how it's going to work with cryptos, but before cryptos, with the Road to Root documents, it was a physical, redeemable gold standard where everybody was given 19 ounces of gold. They have a lot more. Times that by how many people in the United States, you'll see how much gold we have. Massive amounts of gold. There is word from the San Francisco Mint that there is literally the warehouses are absolutely packed with gold and silver coins. Just keep that in mind. This is anecdotal evidence. If you've been watching my videos, you saw the guy who talked about it. He didn't necessarily talk about gold or silver. He did talk about all the warehouses in the San Francisco Mint are full. They have no more room to do anything. There's coins all over the place, and something is going on. So there we have it. I do think, obviously from the Road to Root documents, it's a gold standard that we'll be going to. Will there be cryptos? Absolutely. I don't think cryptos will be necessary, at least the cryptos we have now, will be linked to the US dollar. I think the US dollar will stay on a gold standard. And that will be redeemable. So you can walk into your bank with $50, a new $50 bill, not a Federal Reserve note, and cash it in for probably 1 ounce of gold for $50. Remember, those dollars will be different. The purchasing power, but there is massive amounts of gold and there's very little silver. Very little silver. And we've talked about that. So check out the two. So the remote viewing guys did two remote viewing sessions for the Grand Canyon that I instigated. One was I wanted to know what Seth Tanner saw. Seth Tanner is an old gold miner in the Grand Canyon around the early 1900s. Again, he found Kincaid's cave. So Seth Tanner was the first guy to go in that cave. He was blinded by what he saw. And there's all kinds of stories of Seth Tanner. And if you go to the Grand Canyon, you'll find Tanner's Trail. Everything's named Tanner in that area of the Grand Canyon. It was a true story. And we did a remote viewing on what he saw. If you're interested on what is in Kincaid's cave, we had remote viewing guys do it, and it's just phenomenal. Dick Allgaier and the team did an amazing job. And so I followed up about 6 months later with a question having to do with all the ancient pyramids in the Grand Canyon. If you look at the Grand Canyon, and we also asked him, how was it formed? Grand Canyon was not formed by the Colorado River like they tell you. It was formed with an electricity or a energy discharge between the sun, the Earth, and Mars. In Mars, there's a similar canyon called Valles Marineris, something to that effect. Anyway, it was split. The canyon was split apart in an event, like a lightning storm in space type of thing. But there's also ancient pyramids within the Grand Canyon. They're all named after Egyptian, quote, Egyptian gods. But if you look at the Grand Canyon, you'll see these mountains that are in the middle, literally the base of the canyon. And it's like, how did a mountain be created in the base of a canyon? And they're all, well, many of them are pyramid shaped. Some are shaped like animals, but they were destroyed. And if you look at them closely, you can see all the rocks at the bottom that have fallen off. And if you just think about it, if you put those rocks back where they were originally, you've got pyramids, you've got buildings within the Grand Canyon, and many, many civilizations have lived there on and off for forever. It's crazy, I know, but it's true. Really interesting thing I found the other day. A woman, Kylie Nugent, who now works for Disney, but she was a finalist in the Walt Disney Engineering Imaginations contest. And the contest was, the world is full of natural and ancient wonders that are difficult to enjoy and explore, either because they are remote, inhospitable, or have disappeared from time. In what ways can you create an experience that explores and shares these wonders safely for a wide range of guests or near the original presumed location? And if you know anything about the Grand Canyon, the only thing to do with the Grand Canyon, unless you're like a great hiker, is to sit at the rim of it and look down at it. Why? Because there's hiking trails that go down, but they're really hard to go down. They're really hard to traverse. You got to be in great shape, mainly to get back up. But even to go down, it's a mile deep. It's a mile deep. And it's sheer walls. Of course, the Colorado River did not carve a sheer wall, did not carve mountains within the Grand Canyon, did not carve the pyramid shapes within the Grand Canyon. It's just ridiculous when you think. And most scientists will say, yeah, it probably wasn't the Colorado River. Anyway, but the only thing to really to do, this is the most amazing place on planet Earth. It's the most beautiful from standing on that little rim. Go look at it. It is worth the visit. But there's so much more there. And Kylie used her imagination along with other people and developed this project called Unearth the Grand Canyon. Unearth the Grand Canyon's Hidden Realms. And the concept is, it's an adventure. You get on a riverboat, kind of where I was looking at various things, and you drive down and then you go to a city, a secret city within the walls of the Grand Canyon. If you understand the Hopi legends, they lived with the ant people in an underground city within the Grand Canyon. That's what Kincaid's Cave was. Those weren't just legends, that was history. Remember, history from most of the kind of the native people anywhere is a oral tradition and some writing, petroglyphs on walls, but mainly an oral tradition. That's how they kept track of history. Today we use computers. Books are pretty much gone away. An EMP in our history has been erased again. It is crazy. So anyway, she did a little presentation. This is at kellynugyen.com. KELLIENGUYEN.com. And this is where the trip would go. It would go from Page, which is a town right at the top of kind of the beginning of the access area for the Grand Canyon, all the way through Marble Canyon and into the Grand Canyon, or to the secret city that they promote building. I think it'd be really cool. But there's the boat. There are river boats on the Grand Canyon already, on the Colorado River already. Can only go at certain times and certain depths and things like that. But then they give them a compass, and it's really cool, the idea. But I wanted you guys to check out, notice right here, the city is right where Rotorua believes the Kincaid's Cave is. The exact spot, actually. And that's the Little Colorado River. And that's not just my own research. Many people, even the article written in the Arizona Gazette, placed that the Kincaid's Cave right about there. Now, I do believe they have removed all the artifacts, unfortunately. That was part of the RV. They've removed all the artifacts from Kincaid's Cave. And they just weren't like little artifacts just sitting on the ground. Here's a pot and here's a trinket. There was amazing things on the walls. Think of like going into an Egyptian tomb and seeing all the writings on the walls and carved in there. And the all-seeing eye that is on the back of the dollar, the U.S. dollar, was found in that cave, along with gold. So I'm just saying, watch my research. Anyway, so this boat goes down the Colorado River and it comes to this secret city. It's really cool. It's a great idea. She must have been reading the Rotorua research. And in the city, she's got all kinds of things in that city, places people can stay, ways to learn about petroglyphs, and they have this computer-generated petroglyphs on the walls. It's like a show, and you're actually in the rocks of the Grand Canyon. And then the way to get, according to Hopi legend, they climbed out through a big reed or tree out of when they lived below ground with the ant people, lived inside the walls of the Grand Canyon. And by the way, all the remote viewers saw hidden treasures within the Grand Canyon, beneath the pyramids of the Grand Canyon, that have not been found yet. So Snippy, once you get done with your area, join me in the Grand Canyon at the base of these ancient pyramids, because that's where the big stashes are. This is the 7 cities of Cibola. Really exciting. So this was what it would look like within the walls of the Grand Canyon. Isn't that cool? And this is all doable, especially with the amount of gold in the Grand Canyon. Might as well give something back. And the amount of history you could talk about, the true history, not what we've been told by our history books. They'd have Native Americans working on arts and crafts and selling it to people. And by the way, Native American, at least the Hopi in the area, they owned the gold. We just came in and took it, although they don't believe in that anybody owns the land. So it gets a little squirrely. The Navajo Nation struck a deal with the U.S. government, where the U.S. government basically took control of the gold, but gave the Navajo Nation the ability to get rich from casino Indian gambling. That's why the Indian gambling casino thing is so big, and so much money flows into the Navajo Nation, is because it is a trade-off for the gold that was basically found within their territories. That's more in the research of Rotorua. Go check that out. I talk about that quite a bit. So she talks about the architecture. She's an architect and all that. And really cool. I mean, would you go if you could ride down the Colorado River and they talked about Kincaid's Cave and all the mysteries there? Watch those 2 videos. The crypto viewing videos. One's called The Curious Case of Seth Tanner, Mystery in the Grand Canyon. Do a search on YouTube. The other is called Answers in Time, Remote Viewing the Grand Canyon Mysteries, both on crypto viewing. You'll just be blown away, and you link that with all the Grand Canyon research I did, and it all lines up. It's crazy. Anyway, so there's all kinds of things. There's a swimming area. And then it talks about how you're going to heat the place. It's all sustainable and all that. Geothermal heat, hydroelectric power. And why just one city? It's the most beautiful place in the world. Why wouldn't we do it for millions of people could live in the Grand Canyon? Would it run it? Not if you did it right. But locking it up for over 100 years so that nobody can go, and 95% of the caves are off limits in the Grand Canyon because they're afraid of what you might find in there. It is insane that these people, these government officials, control our lives. They lie about our history. They lie about everything. And they are the most depraved people on the planet. This is not going to end well. This whole election thing, I think, is the best thing ever because there will be no winner. There will be half the country is going to be pissed off. And what happens when half the country is pissed off? That's when governments fall apart. Nobody's going to pay their taxes. If Biden was president, would you pay your taxes? If you don't like Trump, would you pay your taxes? It's the end. The end of the old system. Year 0. Cliff Hyde got it absolutely right. We are in year 0 and we start fresh. So why not build a world like this? First, throw everybody in jail who belongs in jail. I think Trump should have done that a long time ago. And anybody says, oh, it's Barr's fault. No, Trump can say it tomorrow. Trump can say, hey, Barr, throw all these criminals in jail. He could do that tomorrow. He's choosing not to. Whether or not you agree with it or not, what's going on behind the scenes, oh, we can get more people if we let them cheat on the election. The NSA has all the text messages, all the virtual signaling, all the phone calls, everything of these criminals. They got everything you've done too. If you've done anything criminal, you could get arrested from all the data collected from the NSA, and it doesn't matter. So he chose not to. And if Barr wouldn't do it, he'd just replace him tomorrow and put a guy in, his guy says, put his son in there. Okay, you do it. You bust these people right now and end it. All the stuff we're going through right now is because nobody got thrown in jail because Trump didn't want him thrown in jail. There was a bigger plan going on. So we'll see what happens. What do I think? I think the monetary system will be the ultimate destroyer. And I think that'll happen very soon. So hang on to your hat and obviously hang on to your gold and silver, mainly silver. Although gold will be used as money, there's just a hell of a lot of it. Hell of a lot of it. Billions and billions and billions of ounces. Read all my research here. What is hidden in the Grand Canyon? I haven't looked at most of these articles lately. Yes, there's a military base within the Grand Canyon to help guard the gold. It's the Marines that are guarding the gold, by the way. I wrote a whole Conversations with God chapter on chapter 4 of book 2. What's hidden in the Grand Canyon? Let me read a little. If you guys haven't read my Conversations with God books, check them out. While we're on the subject of hiding things in plain view, let's talk about one of the biggest hidden conspiracies on the planet. God says, sure, which one? There's so many. I say, I'm talking about the gold that was found in the Grand Canyon and how it has shaped our country. God says, oh, that big one. Where would you like to start? Me. Okay, let's start with a background of what was found there. God says, okay, in the late 1800s, the Grand Canyon was a very sparsely populated area, although there were some settlers that had set up small towns near the canyon on their way to find their fortunes out west. The land was very dry and the climate was not ideal for humans. Of course, the rugged terrain also made it difficult for people to populate towns on any large scale. Remember, this was before cars and roads and even railways could bring people to that area. It goes on. Talks about the American Indian tribes. Really interesting stuff. Go check that out. And you can find it by just doing a search for the Grand Canyon under roadrunner.com. Amy's now opening the door and there's an alarm going off. She's checking to see if it's her car. All right. That's right. It probably is her car. Amy got a new car. FYI. She can tell you all about it. All right. I haven't been able to get her out of it. And usually on road trips, I drive. And she won't let me drive her car. So she's driving this road trip. It's frightening. It's frightening at times.
Knock it off.
No, she's an excellent driver. She's like Rain Man's an excellent. No, I'm kidding. All right. Anyway, so we are in Sedona, Arizona. We are looking for these clues and hidden treasures and doing research. And it's really fun. And I'm glad I got out of the grind of silver and cryptos for a little bit because the short term doesn't matter, my friends. This is a long-term play. If you get upset when silver goes down 10% or cryptos go down 50%, you're not looking at it the right way. These are long-term plays. If all my investments doubled tomorrow, how much would I sell? Nothing. I wouldn't sell any of it. This is the future of money. What are you going to sell it for? What really? What you going to sell it for US dollars? This is the future of money. HODL, that's why hodling is so important. Hold on for dear life of your silver. If you have gold, go swap it for 75 ounces of silver. Come on. There's so much evidence right now. And just look at historical ratios. 75 to 1 is artificial and ridiculous. And you should know that by now. Anyway, I will be talking with Jenny Moonstone. On the Jenny Moonstone page this coming week, on the Jenny Moonstone page, I posted my own spiritual journey, 45 minutes, talking about the things I do to tap into that side. It's really interesting and really fun. I'll be doing a lot of that here. And that's one of the reasons I came up with this, the Grand Canyon stuff. I had a dream about it last night, about this place. And it actually, in the dream, this actually happens. It was like foretelling that it is turns into the #1 tourist destination within the Grand Canyon. When the secrets are revealed, everybody from around the world is going to want to come here. And they're going to unpack, the Smithsonian's going to unpack all those things that they took off the walls. They were very meticulous about removing everything, especially the all-seeing eye. Go check out the video of the remote viewing guys and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So really cool stuff, but that's what is hitting me here. And I love it. It's great. So Jenny will be back next week. And we have a lot to talk about. I don't know what day. This is Bix Weir. I'll talk to you guys later.